stages of clay are essential things to know about when you're in the ceramic studio, because over time, clay will dry out as it's exposed to the air, and you want to know at what stage you are in order to know what different things you can do to your clay. So we'll start going from the wettest to the driest. Slip is something that you would use maybe from time to time. It's really liquidy clay. You can see when I put this paintbrush inside it, its consistency, and you can change its consistency by how much water you're adding to it, but it's kind of like a thick batter. You can use it as an adhesive. You can use it to create interesting texture, but from time to time you might use slip in the studio. Most often though, you're going to use soft clay. You could also say plastic. They're synonymous, so soft or plastic clay. And it's clay that wedges with ease, and you can apply pressure to it and it will really easily take an imprint of your fingers or whatever stamp you're using, for instance. This is a slab of soft clay that was very simple to roll out because it was soft enough to take that pressure of the rolling pin. And you can see it takes my imprint of my thumb and fingernail really easily. And so by that same token, it takes texture really easily with whatever tools you're using to create texture. Fabric can be used to create texture. So here, for example, here's a piece of netting. I'm going to take a rolling pin and just roll on top of it, and with not that much work, I can create an interesting texture below. Leather hard is when the clay has sat out for longer, been exposed to air for longer, and when I apply pressure on this one, which is a medium leather hard, you can still see that the imprint is being taken, but it's a lot more difficult to mold it out of its shape. So a lot of the initial shaping of the clay into a form happens at the soft stage, and once you're ready to do some other things to it, leather hard is a good place to begin so that the form that you work so hard to get stays in its shape. So here, this one is more of a firm leather hard. See how you really can't see the texture of my imprint, finger imprint, kind of whatsoever. And then as I'm squeezing this leather hard chunk of clay, it's really not doing anything. It's keeping its shape. Versus the soft leather hard clay, or excuse me, the plastic soft clay, totally moldable. Leather hard is a great stage to do carving. So if I take this loop tool, for instance, and make some marks on that, it was simple to do and make some nice, really clean, sharp edges. So great for things like sgraffito, which you'll learn about. I can do the same thing on the soft clay, but see how the clay will stick to your carving tool? Eventually, that kind of gets in the way. So your carving marks appear more well-crafted when done at the leather hard stage, and can be a little bit more consistent, but it's also totally possible to carve in soft. Moving right along to bone dry. So bone dry clay is a stage in which the majority of the moisture has evaporated out of the clay. So big color difference there, right? It also, when you touch it, has a chalky feel to it. When you add a whole lot of water to bone dry clay, it's going to start to disintegrate back into slip. So at this point, you really don't want to be adding water. You don't want to be attaching any more clay to it because it's just not going to stay. And the other really important thing to know about bone dry clay is it's super fragile. So this piece broke very easily, and you can see again if I try to just, tap it, not that hard on the table, broke apart. So if you want to keep your piece, be careful at this stage. So after it goes into the kiln, that bisque fire of the first firing we get Bisqueware. So another color change again, it's kind of a pinkish color now with this particular clay body, and it makes a different sound, has a little bit of a different texture, and it's at this stage that you can begin to glaze it with overglazes. After it's been glazed and it's gone through the firing a second time, we have glazeware, which is often your finished piece, right? Unless you glaze it and fire it multiple times, but typically it's 2 firings. Your bisqueware, or your bisque firing, and then your second glaze firing. So we've got 2 pieces here, nice different colors of glazes. The glaze has turned into this glassy viscous surface, and looks great. So the 6 stages of clay, important to know as a ceramic artist.